Welcome to the Future Proof Leader podcast. I'm Jessica Raypatch, owner of Twin Legacy Solutions. And today I have Shravani, the founder of InWise AI. So, Shravani, I'd love to start off by just having you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shravani Vatti, founder of InWise AI. Thank you so much, Jessica, for having me. InWise is an ambient coordination layer that's listening to all your communications, be it Slack, meetings, email, etc., and automatically pushes the right context and decisions to your personal dashboard or email, etc., right? So it's pretty much working in that layer in between all the communications that you're involved in every day. And it almost like synthesizes that information for you, right? So it also creates a lot of shared context for your company and your team. So eventually you'd be able to understand how your entire team is doing on, say, certain parameters, etc. Today, to do that, it takes an army of people, but we use a lot of AI. It's an AI native product. We use a lot of AI along the way to help smoothen things out and distill and streamline information for different people's consumption.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm excited to dive into our questions because I want to learn more about what you do. So, thank you again for being on the show. And I will dive right into the first question. So, where do you see AI starting to play a role in communications right now?
It depends. There's a spectrum of industries that are using AI very differently, at least in tech, which is where we're all part of today, right? Be it an email, or you give it a little bit of context and say, hey, can you draft this email for me? And then the human comes in and edits it out, changes it a little bit, and then sends it out, right? Ultimately, I don't think we are at a level today where we can pass off ownership and responsibility to AI, saying, hey, this is AI's work. No, it's still very much my work. So I need to edit it out and make sure it's speaking in my voice. But it's fantastic at coming up with first drafts. Where I see a problem is in people overusing AI, particularly in sales outreach, etc. All sorts of random connections from the past keep coming up, and they're like, and then the 5 different messages in a LinkedIn inbox, all written by AI. So that is where I'm like, now could be like a little bit of a misuse territory, but as far as like making sure your voice is being heard and you're making the points you're making and amplifying, that I think is a fantastic use.
And that's so important. So, our business does solutions, process improvements, stuff like that. And we do have AI that we recommend to companies to implement and stuff on top. But we also do like lead generation, and we have AI lead generation, cold email campaigns. And this comes up a lot with people because they're like, well, I don't want emails being sent out like robotic emails. No one list, nobody really opens those. They're like spam or whatever. And you're right. If you have OpenAI writing all of your marketing, it is quite apparent. And computers are getting smarter using additional AI to detect that. So the human element, right? So our concept is HI meets AI. We always say that because we have the humans writing the scripts for our emails. And that's very important. I think it makes such a difference. We've done actually a lot of research on it, on that human touch, that brand, that voice behind it. But using it as a first draft is absolutely so helpful.
Right.
But just supplementing it. So I really do love your perspective on that. That's awesome. So leaning into more about how companies are doing communication, do you think businesses are using the AI to amplify communications, or are they starting to use it and it's overcomplicating things?
So it's an excellent question, actually. There are a couple nuances there, right? First is you're using AI in internal communications, and second is you're using it in external communications, right? When you're using it in internal communications, typically it's like, hey, write me this document. This is the audience. This is the context they have. Can you help me craft? This is the goal of the meeting. Can you help me craft the document, right? That's one way of doing it, or even a presentation outline, etc. So internal and emails, all of those things are being, or even work updates. Here's what I did this week. All those things I think is AI is more being used, I want to say, in a manner that's useful for everybody. Now the question comes onto the consumption side, right? How many work updates can you read and process in a day, right? And how much of documentation? The AI can produce endless documentation, right? But how much can I really read and understand and digest? And that's where AI InWise comes in. It comes in the consumption angle a little bit. It tries to distill all the information so it's easier to consume for people, right? Now, coming to the external territory, where we think typically like sales, marketing, etc. It is one thing to say, hey, we can draft up 1,000 LinkedIn messages, right? But the way, in fact, we use AI in external messaging is have AI draft up, like, say, 300 messages, right? And these are all just drafts. So I go in and I edit them out. So it's not like cold emailing, also, in a way. It is warm emailing, I think. You're just
Yeah.
emailing one after one. But it's great because the number of emails and targeted emails with the right context gets a far better reply rate than a regular cold email that I would send, right? Maybe I need to spend 5 minutes per email to edit it out and make it sound good and polished. But that's about it. It's so much faster and I think efficiency wise, that pays off better. Where it could be a little bit tedious in terms of the amount of work you're putting in, but with AI coming up with better and better first drafts, it
Yeah.
gets us closer to be able to personalize things, not just random personalization. Hey, I know you went to this college like 20 years back, but relevant personalization for the outreach.
That makes such a big difference. We work a lot about that too. We probably do a lot of the same things. It's so important, outreach specifically, especially in today's market when everyone's trying something new and then it's not new anymore because then everyone starts doing the same things and that doesn't work. You have to be evolving, and what makes it work is when you're adding those personalizations throughout the way to get people to actually connect with you. So that is
Yeah.
so communication in general, right? So what are some of the common bottlenecks that you see regarding like missed follow-ups or slow responses, unclear messaging? And how do we kind of mitigate that?
Typically, if somebody is reaching out to me and the ask is not clear, there's a lower chance of me responding, right?
Yeah.
And then the follow-ups will be even more vague or even more, hey, just making sure you saw my message. Well, I saw your message. I didn't reply because I didn't know what to reply. And again, the follow-up comes in, did you see my message? I'm like, I totally saw your message. Stop texting me. Because now we're in the spam land, right?
Right.
So if the ask is not clear, maybe doubling down with a clearer messaging will get a better response from people. And maybe it's just not the right time, and maybe a different form of outreach at a later point of time will get a better result. So that is one thing I think of. Another one is it's almost like people are getting so much outreach with AI slop, emailing and LinkedIn
Mhm.
messages, etc. It's not really a bad thing for them to not respond. Maybe a webinar invitation is a better way to follow up. Maybe meetup is something that you can offer for them if they're interested to invest time in that territory. So maybe different forms of engaging. Maybe you can send in a white paper, in a case study or something like that to get them interested. But yeah, if the first outreach is not coming up with a successful result, then more and more follow-ups where you're doubling down on the message is not likely to get a response.
Right. No, I like that overuse of messaging. So how do the communications gap affect companies' client relationships and their revenue stream?
Oh, that's a big one, actually. And this is
Mhm.
a topic I'm very, very passionate about because a lot of doom and gloom about AI taking away jobs, etc.
Yes.
But the way I think about it is you have the revenue bucket where every business is trying to use AI to increase revenue and lower
Yes.
costs with layoffs, etc. There's another component to it, which comes in the cost bucket, which is customer experience. Like it's so much cheaper and efficient today to deliver a superior customer experience, right? Even something as simple as you take your car to a dealership, get it repaired or something, not a dealership, a garage, you get it repaired or something, and then they could just come up with a quick one pager saying, hey, here's the status of your car. This is what it needs next time. And we can automatically set reminders for you. That's
Mhm.
such a huge difference in the customer experience, even for something as simple as that, right? Or you think about like education. I have a daughter, you have 3 daughters. So it's so difficult to keep tab of everything that we have to do for them, especially from an education perspective.
Oh, yes.
So Even something as simple as, oh, here's an emailer that's automatically being sent out on the progress of the child. It's so easy to deliver those special customer experiences today that'll really add a personalized touch, that I think the people are missing the point about, oh, the revenue, the cost, sure, but the customers would feel so much more relieved if they're getting updates on things that they really care about, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. So it's worth the investment there, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah,
drives
yeah.
revenue because it drives client experience. If your clients are happy, they're going to stay with you.
It's just better retention and it's just
Yeah.
better business. And I see those kind of touches will take over a lot of different businesses over a period of time. Where we today we have to reach out to a customer agent, and that agent is a voice agent, and I'm like, I don't like this anymore. Right?
I think we're all running
Instead,
into that a little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the other day, actually, I got an AI agent calling me. It was some home repair or something, and it would just not stop talking. And I'm like, "Are you AI?" It just would not stop talking.
Yes.
That was something else. But yeah, I think essentially, if we are making it more customer focused and more we're thinking more about the customer experience with the company, etc., it's going to be a smoother, more seamless integration for AI into businesses today.
Absolutely. I think the workflow has to be on point too. So, like you're talking about the phone call. So, I think there's a huge trend right now. It was typically you call a company and immediately you get someone saying, "Hey, press one for this department, press two for this department," right? And then you would go to the different department, you get a human. Well, what I'm finding that's becoming really popular is you pick up the phone, you get in contact with somebody, and it's just like, "Hi, I'm Charlie, your AI agent. How can I help you today?" But then it's really hard to get to a human. You can't press one, you can't press two, and then I'm just hanging up the phone and I'm not going to be calling that company anymore. So it has to be thoughtful where you're putting AI and how you're integrating it. Great. If you want to put an AI agent on the phone to kick off the conversation, try to help as much as possible, eliminate the need for like seven caller people on the other side, call representatives. But at the same time, it can't completely replace people because we have unique needs as humans that AI just can't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It won't replace us. It just not in all capacities. I went through this. I won't say the company because it's a well-known company. I was booking a trip and I had an issue and I kept calling and getting an AI person bot and it just didn't get me to a human. And I'm like, you know what? I canceled all my stuff. I said, I'm not going to be doing this anymore. If this is the customer service now, I'm not going this direction. It's frustrating for the customer, you know? So, yeah, thoughtful workflows would be nice. So, what's the difference between businesses that communicate well consistently versus those that do not?
We just talked about the thoughtfulness, right? And
Thoughtfulness.
optimizing for the customer experience and their scenario. They come with different problems, really,
Yeah.
to kind of understand where they're at, where do they want to get, and in which manner can we help them, and crafting those personalized experiences in a way that people are not feeling boxed out like you did, right? Or
Yeah.
even the same thing happened with me too the other day. I was calling like a car company. I wanted to reschedule an appointment, and there was just no way to do that. So AI is fantastic at a lot of scenarios where I think what we were talking about earlier is is really good at getting us to a first draft,
Yes.
right? But it's not to a point where you could just send them off and hope for a miracle, right? So just being more thoughtful about the scenarios and the customer pain points that they're in today. Even if you want to make something like a voice agent, right? Which is what probably happened in our scenario is just optimize for all of the customer use cases and just even add like small little guardrails. Do not interrupt the customer, let them finish, have an understanding. If you do not have an understanding, ask more questions, right? It's just simple things that can be done to make the customer experience better. But oftentimes when those little things are missing and it goes out in production in the wild, it creates all sorts of havoc issues, and then they're like, my god, not we cannot move things to production because AI is not ready. No, no, AI was ready. It was the way we architected the solution was not good.
Right. Absolutely. We always say that too, because we'll get clients or potential clients reach out to our company and be like, "Oh yeah, we heard you do AI implementations. We want AI." And I was like, "Oh, that's amazing, but let's talk about like what do you do? What's your process?" Are you optimizing or streamlining your business processes? How does that look? And most of the time, it's not clean. It's not thorough. It's not well thought out. That has to be on point before you implement AI. AI will not fix your processes. It'll enhance your processes. But
Hmm.
that's whatever process you have in place. That's what I like to tell people. If the process is not great, it's about to amplify that process that's not great. So
Yeah.
take the time to take a step back, make a solid process, optimize your
Yeah.
business process, and then put AI in place to make it a smooth, well-oiled machine. So that's true.
The way I like to think about it is the term that's being used is called business process mapping, where you're trying to understand from an end-to-end perspective, what is the workflow, what are all the
Yes.
scenarios that we need to kind of map out here, and what is the outcome for each different scenario. NA10 is one company that kind of helps with that, but ultimately the knowledge or the context has to come from the company and the employee
For sure.
and maybe even customers. Maybe we interview some of the customers to find out what their process is like, and then we come up with okay, he in this workflow is probably where AI can help, and this is strictly a human workflow today because of the variability.
Absolutely.
So then it becomes more of a thoughtful, more efficient implementation rather than, okay, I'm going to take this entire business process and throw it into AI and let's hope for the best, right? So
Doesn't work out. Or people will contact us and they've already done that. And then the backtracking of it is pretty sloppy.
yeah.
But I'd be curious. So, what are you seeing in the market today? So, when people contact InWise, what are they asking for now? Are they fixing problems? Are they trying to get ahead of the AI curve? Or what are you seeing?
Really, it's a mixture of things right now. So one of the things that we cater to engineering teams and sales teams. So when we look at engineering teams, it's a similar problem in that the number of pull requests, right? Amount of the volume of code that's being pushed out is almost like 10x the last year.
Yeah.
But then humans are kind of behind in how to process all of that information. And how do we understand what's happening to our code base or even in the company? How do I even know what a certain person has worked on in the last quarter? Right. So these are the types of things where InWise will be is that translation layer where it understands communications and tailors it for different roles, right? So it could as simple as, okay, I have this objective, I want to reach this objective by the end of this quarter. Is my team on track to deliver that or not? Today, to get that information out, it takes an army of program managers, etc. In addition to that, with the pace of development, with pace of AI kicking in coding use cases, etc., it's becoming even more harder for leaders to stay in touch with what the teams are working on, right? And even teams, they're like, we're doing so much work, there's a disconnect between the expectations of leadership. Leadership is thinking, oh, we can churn out a document in like 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
Versus whereas it still takes like to our point, it's good with first draft but not the final draft, so it still takes a significant amount of time. There's a lot of gap in expectations and delivery, and that's the pain point that InWise solves. It creates that translation layer for different roles in companies.
And I like, even with the first draft of AI, it really is about what you put in. So you
Yeah.
have to have a really good context input to get something that's actually usable for that first draft. So you get what you put in. So if you're going to type like, "Hey, draft me a contract for and why is about a communication endeavor," it could go any certain way, right? You have to be very specific. And I think where a lot of people are failing is that they don't really know that you have to tell AI specifically what to do. It's almost like a coding mechanism if you want something very, very good, because it's easy to detect people that do that and people who do not do that. So,
I
so
think one thing I do which could be useful for businesses or even like individuals is having a little bit of a voice in your voice kind of like repository,
oh yeah.
and your business voice is separate, right? So you have like two different voice files that you're saving over a period of time. It'll use that as a reference point, right? For example, in my voice file right now, I think it's around like 1,000 posts that I've written over a period of time. But essentially what that now I'm getting to a point where it's like really good first draft, but it takes that effort to let AI know what you sound like and what your business voice is, And to get that over that finish line takes a little bit of effort. Even I think it's good at with five posts, but the more number of posts, the more it's going to sound like you.
Now, do you help companies and employees, do you train them how to do that? Is that part of what you do?
Not really, because it's part of the
Oh,
product automatically.
oh,
It kind
very
of
cool.
surface, but it's like a little trick on the back end.
Gotcha. So you have a system then, an actual IT system that you
Yeah,
come and you embed into like their current infrastructure?
get it.
Oh,
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I've missed that connection. So you come into a company, you connect your software essentially, software
Yep.
into their infrastructure, and then that's analyzing what the company does. And it's learning their brand and their voice and helping them produce context.
Yes.
Oh,
Produce content or even just get
content.
internal clarity on what they're working on, etc.
Oh yeah. Okay. So that changes things a little bit. And do you have reporting features inside of this?
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
So as a founder, CEO, director, or whatever, they can know exactly what's happening in their company. Are there overarching objectives, deliverables being worked on? And
Is
who
there
is
any delays, for instance, or are we
oh,
drifting away from the goals we set from this quarter? Are we ahead of time? Is there something that we're working on, which is something that we shouldn't be working on right now, given the objectives, right? So all sorts of insights just by observing how people work and how people talk we learn so much about companies.
so you're like an analytics. That is really cool. Okay. I missed the system portion because I was like, oh, that's cool. You guys are probably very busy analyzing everyone in the
Yeah.
company. I was like, wow, that's a lot of work. That's why I was like, when you said army of people, I was like, oh yeah, so you must have a big team. You walk in there. So
No,
obviously,
it's
yes.
all
Okay.
through AI.
I get
It's all through the product itself.
so
Today,
it's
it's
like an
being
actual
done with an army of people, but with AI, it's just literally the product itself does everything from end to end.
I love that. Okay, so then so I guess now my question is, so from before you get into a company to after, what are you seeing as the biggest advantage of understanding and learning the communication once your system has done its job? What are you seeing the results of that? That's what are the outcomes?
Oh my
Biggest.
God, there's so many different outcomes. So, number one thing is the number of meetings internally that people have around, say, a certain topic goes down by almost like 50%, right?
Love that.
So you're talking about, I mean, I've been in teams where I'm in the room with the same exact people, 30-minute meeting.
Yes.
Nobody reads about the pre-read or anything, like any emails, everything is over the head. So 15 minutes is spent on bringing them to the page, and then 10 minutes on discussion, and 5 minutes is like next step. So all of this is just
Sure.
because we're constantly understanding about the company, all of that goes away almost
I
instantaneously.
love it.
There are certain types of work streams where it's just a status meeting. You're giving out the status of your work, and that's everything you're doing, right? And but you're required for like 2 minutes there, but you're there for the full hour, right? All of those types of meetings also go away almost instantaneously. Leaders get visibility much faster. So you would know, for instance, hey, we want to get like 10 customers. What is the customer pipeline looking like, right? You would get that information like immediately. A little bit of configuration, but it's so much more faster. And then you can take the next steps instead of spending a full hour wondering, okay, where is this customer? What happened with him before? Now, what is that status? So all of that back end work is something that people spend time doing today.
Oh yeah.
Instead, we're outsourcing that to AI.
Oh, I love that. And I mean, there's still a human. So you have the analytics and but then there is a human element to come together and then actually take action for it. So
Yes, but it's so much more action oriented,
oh yeah.
and a lot less like, now let's bring everybody to the same page,
Oh,
right?
I think I would speak for so many people when I tell you that one of the things I cannot stand is going to meetings when I have stuff to do. I have sat through so many meetings in my day where I'm like, why does anybody really know why we're here? Are we here for a reason? Could we have done this in a 5-second conversation? Because now I've been in here for 45 minutes. I have no clue what anyone's talking about. And the person presenting has just talked 10 minutes about something totally off topic because they had a
Yeah.
thought in their head. The amount of loss of productivity with the meetings in general, I could tell you, I could already say, I totally believe you when you say 50% of their productivity is back on the table because those are so it's useless. But if you don't have a system in place to kind of understand what everyone's working on and collaborating, then that
Yeah,
there's some capacity. You have to get together and rally people and have
yeah.
check-ins to see what everyone's working on. So it makes sense. But
It's
oh,
also funny because a lot of the systems that we have today are very human driven. You need to go out and update your Salesforce, for instance, or your Jira or Asana or something. You need to actually go in and do that. But if you think about it, AI is actually creating a lot of work today, right? All the outreaches come through AI. So by the time you go and update, the moment is already over, right? So now you have to figure out the next step, both for the AI and for the tool that you're using to update. So there's a lot of the amount of back and forth. We've just not caught up with the pace of AI. So that's what we're trying to solve. And I think ultimately coming to the point of people and their attention span.
mhm.
If you've come to work after, say, a week, are you really going to be able to go over, say, 50 tickets and understand what happened? That's not realistic. So what we would do is we would consolidate all of that and come up with only the most relevant information.
I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm very big at centralizing and consolidation. I just
Yeah,
think it makes you more efficient. I'm all about efficiency, so I love that. So, where
absolutely.
can companies find you if they're looking to implement this in their business today?
We have a website. It's InWise. Check out the website, check out the demo, request a call, all of the standard mechanisms, or you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or our company LinkedIn page.
Amazing. Okay, cool. Well, I learned a lot today. I'm glad I finally connected that dot. It makes so much more sense. So, thanks for being a guest on the podcast. And I'm sure everybody can use a little bit of enhancement in their communications in their companies. I feel like that's obviously everybody talks about how communications is the number one thing that needs to be on point in order for a company to work efficiently and optimize. So, thanks again. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. It was a pleasure, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Bye, Jessica.